In this video, we're gonna do some advanced questions about binomial theorem. So let's say in number 1, part A, they're telling you find the terms involving x squared and x cubed in the expansion of 1 minus 3 over 4 x exponent 8. Now there is a trick I didn't mention before about 1 plus big X exponent n. So since a general term of this is nck big X exponent k, so if we're looking for x squared, you can use k is equal to 2 directly. If you're looking for the term x cubed, you can use k equals to 3, but this only works if you have this form. And it should be in this way, 1 plus big X. And when I mention this, I should have only X here and the big X. So I will repeat. Big X in our case is negative 3 over 4 times X. Okay? When you have this form and X inside the parentheses is exponent 1, then you can use this trick. So k equals to 2 whenever x is exponent 2. K equals 3 whenever x is exponent 3. Alright? So this will help us in solving some questions really quick. So in this case we need x squared, so the term with x squared will be 8c2, and big X in this case is negative 3 over 4x exponent 2. We simplify this. 8c2 on the calculator will be 28, then minus 3 squared will be 9, 4 squared will be 16, x squared, and our final answer in this case would be 63 over 4 x squared. So this is the term with x squared. Now same thing we do for x cubed. The k here is 3, the previous one was 2. So 8c3 minus 3 over 4x exponent 3. So we get 56 multiplied by negative 27 over 16. Actually, it's over 64. For exponent 3 is 64. X cubed. Now when we multiply this, we get minus 189 over 8x cubed. So this is the term with x cubed. Now, part B. If they're telling you, given that there is no term involving x cubed, whenever you see this, there is no term involving something, it means same as saying the coefficient of x cubed is 0. You need to keep this in mind whenever they ask this question. So they don't want a term in x cubed and x exponent 4 and whatever, then the coefficient of that term must be 0. This is the whole idea. Now, so the question is, given that there is no term in x cubed in the expansion, and they told you in this expansion of a plus 8x multiplied by 1 minus 3 over 4x exponent 8. So they want you basically to expand this, and then the term with x cubed should not be there. So the coefficient of x cubed must be 0. So find the value of a using this fact, which is no term in x cubed. Alright, now I will write a plus 8x 1 minus 3 over 4x exponent 8. Now some students, they tend to expand all of this. However, we're talking about x cubed, so it's enough for me to expand up to x cubed and that's it. So I will write a plus 8x bracket. Let's expand this. So nc0, because it looks like 1 plus big X exponent n, so I will apply the rule. So 8c0 plus 8c1 big X, which is minus 3 over 4x exponent 1. I need up to x cubed, so I will write two more terms. This is squared, then one more, which is 8c3 minus 3 over 4 x exponent 3. Now, equals a plus 8x. The first one we know directly it's 1. The second is nc1, which is 8, multiplied by negative 3 over 4 x. Now, these two terms, they asked you to do them in part A, so we can use them directly. 63 over 4x squared, so I'll write plus 63 over 4x squared, and the other one was minus 189 over 8x cubed. See, I'm using the previous ones. Now, here you can proceed in different ways. If you notice that we need x cubed, so you can look when you distribute the a to the x cubed, this term will give you x cubed, and when you distribute the 8x to 63 over 4x squared, this will give you x cubed. Instead of distributing the whole thing, you can just do this and that, and that's it, because no other term will give me x cubed. Now, a times negative 189 over 8x cubed will give me minus 189 over 8 multiplied by a x cubed, and the other one, 8x times 63 over 4, you can multiply 8 with 63 over 4 and you will get 126 only. So 126 x cubed, because x times x squared will give you x cubed. So these are the only two terms with x cubed in our expansion. Now, as I said, they said we need to find a if there is no term involving x cubed, so the coefficient of x cubed must be 0. So here we have 2x cubed. I'm gonna take 1x cubed as common factor, and we still have in the first one minus 189 over 8a plus 126. The x cubed is outside, so we write only 126. Now, since no term involving x cubed, this is our coefficient, and I need to say it's equal to 0. So minus 189 over 8a plus 126 is equal to 0. So to continue from here, we need to move the 126 to the other side. We get minus 189 over 8a equals minus 126. Then to find a, because this is multiplication, you can divide by minus 189 over 8. When you do this on the calculator, our answer will be 16 over 3. So I know that a in this case will be 16 over 3. Alright, we're done with this question. So we're gonna do another one. So this is part A and B in question number 1. Now, number 2. Let's say the question in expansion or in the expansion of 1 plus mx exponent 9, and here m is a constant, so where m is a constant, the coefficient of x squared is 144. The question is, find the coefficient of the term that has x cubed. Now, remember, I know the coefficient of x squared, so let's work with x squared first, and maybe from there we can find m, because I need m to find the coefficient of x cubed. Now again, I can notice that we have 1 plus big X exponent n, and whenever we have this and X has exponent 1, then if I'm talking about X squared, the K corresponding to it is 2. So let's use this fact and check what we can get. So nck, big X exponent K, so this is the general term. I will write n in this case is 9, K is 2, big X is mx exponent 2. And I know that this answer will give me the term with x squared and the coefficient of x squared. They mentioned it in the question as 144. Now we do 9c2 on the calculator, you get 36, and you distribute the square, we get m squared x squared equals 144 x squared. Now x squared here and there, you can divide both sides so they cancel out, and we get 36 m squared equals 144. It means m squared equals 144 divided by 36. So m squared is equal to 4. Now m in this case is equal to either 2 or negative 2. Now in the question, if they mention that m is a positive constant number, you need to take m equals to 2. If they say m is negative, you need to take negative 2. I'm gonna choose m to be 2, and then we're gonna calculate. So I will write 1 plus 2x exponent 9. So I replaced the m in the question by 2. And using this, we're gonna find the term or the coefficient of x cubed. So k that corresponds to it is 3, and we apply the rule 9 c3, and here the big X is 2x exponent 3. Now we do 9c3 on the calculator, it's gonna be 84, and then 2 cubed is 8 x cubed. We multiply and we get 672 x cubed. So if they're asking about the coefficient, we mentioned that it's 672. In part A, they're telling you expand 1 over radical 16 plus x squared, which is equal to 1 over box minus 1 over box x squared plus box over box multiplied by x exponent 4. So basically we need to find the missing numbers. Whenever I see something like this using binomial expansion, if I want to expand, I cannot work with the radical. So the first step, as a note, you need to remember that, as I said before in the previous video, whenever we have nth root of something exponent m, we can write this as exponent m over n. Now for the radical, if you have only radical like this, it's the same thing as having exponent 1 inside and a hidden 2 outside. We don't write it. So basically, any radical you see, just radical without an index outside, which is the hidden 2, we write it as exponent half. So this is my first step, to change this to exponent half. Next step, we cannot expand unless this is in the numerator. So we take it up, it becomes 16 plus x squared exponent minus 1 over 2. Now I notice that this is rational. Rational, it's a fraction, negative, it can be a number, but whenever it's a fraction or negative, the best way to work with the question is to change to the form 1 plus big X exponent n. Now, how do I change this to 1 plus big X exponent n? The first step is to have big bracket with the exponent negative half outside, and my aim to change the 16 to 1. Now, many students, they say divide 16 by 16, you get 1. However, you're not allowed to divide because you feel like dividing. So in this case, we need to take 16 as a common factor, and we write 16 divided by 16, which is 1, plus, so you divide this by this, and then you divide this by this. X squared divided by 16, you write it as x squared over 16. It's equal to, now the exponent negative half must be distributed to the 16 and to the parentheses. So you get 16 exponent negative half, and this is not equal to negative 8. We're not multiplying 16 and negative half. And here we have 1 plus x squared over 16 exponent negative half. Now I proceed. If you try this on the calculator, it might give you an answer as a fraction. In some cases, it gives as decimal. So you need to know how to change this to fraction. Because we have negative exponent, to make it positive exponent, you just take it to the denominator and you change the sign of the exponent. Now I'm gonna expand 1 plus x squared over 16. As we can see there, I have one term, two terms, third term. So we have three terms in total. So I'm gonna write only three terms of this expansion. The first one is nc0, so minus half c0 plus minus half c1. Big X in this case is how much? It's x squared over 16 exponent 1. I want one more, so minus half c2 x squared over 16 exponent 2. Now 1 over, as I said, exponent half, it means square root, so we can write square root of 16, or directly on the calculator you can do 16 exponent half and you'll get 4. The first one is always equal 1. This is equals n, so minus half x squared over 16, no need to write the exponent 1 anymore, plus the minus half c2. If we do it on the side, it's gonna be 3 over 8. So again, we use the rule. 2 factorial down, and on top I need 2 factors. So the first one is minus half, the other one is minus half minus 1. You do all of this on the calculator, it will be positive 3 over 8. Multiplied by, you distribute the square here and there, it becomes x exponent 4, and 16 exponent 2 is 256. Equals, my last step is to simplify, and then I will distribute. So this becomes 1 over 32 x squared plus 3 over, we multiply now 8 by 256 and we get 2048 x exponent 4. Is this my final answer? No. We need to distribute the 1 over 4. So we get 1 over 4 minus 1 over 32 times 44, 32 times 4, it will be 128 x squared plus 3 over, we need to multiply 4 by 2048, and in this case we get 8192 x exponent 4. So the box on top here is 3, this one is 8192, this one is 128, and this one is 4. If you do these steps, you will get hopefully everything correct. Now, they might add like 2 parts or 3 parts to this question. Part B, if they tell you use part A, the expansion in part A, to approximate the square root of 1 over 17. Just before I proceed here, I want to mention something about the condition as a reminder. So in this case, if they ask you for what values of x this is equal to the expansion, again, you need to mention the condition, which is absolute value of x is smaller than 1, which is absolute value of big X in this case is x squared over 16, smaller than 1, which is the same thing as doing absolute value of x squared over 16, smaller than 1. Then we can multiply by 16 on both sides. We get absolute value of x squared smaller than 16, which is the same thing as absolute value of x squared smaller than 16. Now you can do square root on both sides. Absolute value of x will be smaller than 4, so x will be between -4 and 4. Alright, knowing this, in part B, as I said, they might ask you to approximate a number using the expansion you did before. Great. So let's say here they're asking you up to 4 decimal places. So what we need to do is I write radical 1 over 17, which is radical of 1 over radical of 17, which is 1 over radical of 17. I look at the question we have at the beginning. I have 1 over radical of 16 plus x squared. So some students, they note directly, if I replace x by 1 or negative 1, we get 16 plus 1 squared or negative 1 squared, which is also 1. And this will give me 17. Now let's say you're not sure. You are right. I want this to be of this form. 16 plus x squared. So I can use its expansion. So basically I want here to be equal to this one. So 16 plus x squared equals 17. X squared equals to 1. So x is either 1 or negative 1. Now if you use either, it will not change because we have exponent 2. So the x, if it's 1 or negative 1, in both cases it's gonna give me the same answer, which is 1. So now I noticed that if I replace the x by 1, I will get radical of 17. It means the 1 over radical 16 plus 1 squared is the same as the expansion we got here. This one. And we replace instead of the x1. So this is what I will write. 1 over 4 minus 1 over 128, 1 squared, plus 3 over 8192 multiplied by 1 exponent 4. When you do this on the calculator, approximately, you will get 0.24255. Because I said up to 4 decimal places, you need to stop here. 5 is 5 or more, or we call it strong number. So we need to add to the 5 here 1, and we cancel this one. So approximately we get 0.2426. Now they might add part C and they tell you, use calculator to get the answer of radical of 1 over 17 up to 2 or up to 4 decimal places. When you do it on the calculator, it will be 0.24253. So we need to round up to the 4th decimal place. The 3 will be cancelled and we don't do anything to the 5. So it will be 0.2425. I can see that these are not the same answers. They are almost the same. So because they are not equal, they might add a part here and they ask you what is the difference between the two answers. Whenever they ask you about the difference, use absolute value to get the answer, because you need to do the bigger minus the smaller to get a positive answer. So if you use absolute value and you write whatever inside in any order, still your final answer will be positive. So if I write 2426 minus 0.2425, my answer will be 0.0001. If you use calculator for this, it will show you 1 times 10 exponent negative 4. It means if you don't know how to change it to decimal, 1 has a decimal at the end. Exponent negative 4, it means move 4 times to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You put the decimal point, then you fill all the empty places by zeros. Or you can write it as fraction if they ask you as 1 over 10,000.